Hi, today we're going to be talking about wig density and permatease. If you haven't had a chance to look at the other videos where we're talking about different aspects of what you may want to know before buying a wig, like the type of fiber that is best for you, or the type of wig cap that is best for you, or even choosing a color. I will put the links below. You can take a look at those. Hopefully you find those helpful. If you like this information, please hit like and subscribe so that other people can find it also. So let's just dive right into what those terms density and permatease mean. Because after I started looking at other parts of the wig, like we talked about, the type of fiber, the wig cap, I started hearing these terms, and all of this was new. And I can tell you these things will become very important to you when you start really looking at the description and the specs on buying a wig. So what's permatease? We'll start there. Permatease are those short crimped or teased fibers that you can find at the base of some wigs. All wigs don't have them. So when you start looking, you can look somewhere in the information to see if they have permatease. What it also can do is help hide some of the wefting in the back, and it gives a lift to the wig. It makes you look like you have more body within your wig. So if you want to choose something with permatease, you may like something that has a fuller look. For me, it was important personally to find wigs that have very little permatease or no permatease, because I didn't really like that extra lift or volume, because I hadn't had hair in so long to look nice that I didn't want to go from no hair to poof, a lot of hair up there, because it was just too much for me to see myself that way at first. And I still prefer the wigs that have little to no permatease. So that is the first piece of that. The next thing you want to start looking at is the density of the wig. And basically, there are definitions of what this means, but it is basically the number of fibers that are within the square inch. And they can either be stated in ounces or in percentages. For me, in my heat-friendly synthetic wigs, I always find these in ounces. So that actually helps me to know how heavy the wig is, or how much weight is going to be there, and that helps me to determine really the density of the wig as well. So again, when you're starting to look for wigs, some wig companies have more density than other wig companies, or have more fibers per square inch. I have been wearing wigs for about a year, so I am fairly new into this with you. So I feel like this is the perfect time to be sharing what I have learned in my crash course of wig wearing. And I've only really gone with 3 or 4 different types of wigs, but in my experience so far, my Jean Renault wig that I have, it's Holly, and I'll show her too, and we'll talk about the density. But she is a lighter density for me. Not all Jean Renault wigs are that way. You need to take, because some of them definitely have permatease to them, and they could be also a heavier weighted wig. So something to keep in mind. So usually when you're looking at the density, the description will actually read light, light medium, medium, medium heavy, or heavy. And again, that goes into how much hair you are comfortable with wearing. Some women know that they have a lot of hair, even though they've lost their hair. In the past, they've had a lot of hair and they want that hair back. Then you would choose a medium or a medium heavy. For me, that was not the case. So I always look and I try to stick with light to medium. And occasionally it will say medium, but I just happen to know that they are a light medium and I can definitely wear those. So things to look at. So I wanted to just walk through a couple of them just to kind of give you an idea. First, let's take a look at permatease. And I'm hoping you can see this. This wig is Own the Room. It's by Raquel Welch. And here's this little patch right here. This is where sometimes you can see, I'm not sure if you can or not, but in here, there you can actually feel them. There are these little prickly fibers. That is the permatease. And I gotta tell you, for this wig, I had permatease in it. I'm not mad about that. On, it is beautiful, and it gives just enough lift in that permatease area to make it look like it's not flat on my head. So I actually like that little bit of permatease there, but I happen to know that it is not a lot. So now let's look at Holly. I mentioned Holly. These are not wig reviews. I can always do a wig review at a different time. My goal is to show you the density of a wig. So as you can see, she's pretty light. She looks light. She feels light. It actually shows up on the site as light density, and it weighs 3.5 ounces. with no Permatease. And I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, if it is a hand-tied cap, there is not Permatease in this cap. This is a hand-tied cap. That's kind of another cue also as to whether or not it will have Permatease. All right, so now let's look at Simmer Elite. This is the wig that I have on. This is Simmer Elite, and this is in Shaded Cappuccino. This is a hand-tied cap. There is no Permatease in this. It weighs 4.2 ounces, and it says it is a light to medium density. And I would definitely agree with that. It feels even a little heavier than some of my Belle Tress wigs. So for me, a lot of the Raquel Welch pieces are so beautiful and their fibers are done so well, but I do find that they are a little bit of a heavier density, not heavy, but heavier on that light medium range there than, let's say, a Belle Tress wig. Most Belle Tress wigs are light density. So if you're a new, and again, lots of wig options, I'm just telling you and sharing with you my experience. I have lots of Raquel Welch wigs and I love them oh so very much, but I also have a lot of Belle Tress wigs. And I like those also because they are light density wigs and they are light here. I mentioned I live in Florida, don't want a lot of hair. I didn't have a lot of hair. I don't want it to look like I have too much for my face frame and for my age. So again, that's something else to keep in mind. So that is that wig. Now let's look at Modena. This is by Belle Tress. A light, very light wig. And it actually says light density. This is in Milkshake Blonde and no Permatease. And it weighs 4.3 ounces. So again, something to think about. So no Permatease in here at all. And then finally, we'll take a quick peek at Newport, which is another Belle Tress piece. I've shown you now a Raquel Welch. I've shown you a couple of Belle Tresses and a Jean Renault. So this is Newport. She weighs 4.2 ounces. Again, really light. And she is light density and no Permatease. So again, when you're starting to look at the specs, take a look at those things. That will definitely help you in making a decision as to if you want a heavy, a light, a medium density wig, and if you want Permatease. And I say this, I've said this a few times, YouTube is your friend. If you think you like a wig, go watch a few wig reviews and see what everybody says. See other people wearing them, see them in different light, see what that looks like, see what the movement is like. Does it move nicely for people? And see what they have to say. And that's also another way to look at different colors of wigs too. On those, when you're looking at reviews, you can find different colored wigs to help you make a more educated choice for yourself. Hopefully this helps, and I'll see you next time.